You are now tuned into the TRUENORTH.BET NFL NCAA football podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Graham, and I'm pleased to be here again. It's been a trying 23 weeks. It's been a lot, but we are here for Super Bowl weekend, Super Bowl 57, as a matter of fact, between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. My goodness, what it was exceptional championship weekend that we had between the Cincinnati Bengals, Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers, really weird weekend, but has all led us to this particular time with the Super Bowl upon us. I cannot wait to see this game. I cannot wait to put down bets. I cannot wait to go on TrueNorth.bet, lay down parlays of my players, different predictions, so on and so forth. I'll be doing that, different props. Make sure you go on TrueNorth.bet. Of course, it's always a bet in the right direction. That's one thing I'm going to continue echoing throughout the majority and the entirety of this podcast, is you want to make sure you're putting all of your parlays down on TrueNorth.bet, because it is always a bet in the right direction. I'll make sure you have that. So as we get into this 2023 Super Bowl, of course, there was a lot of news that have led up to this particular week. For instance, Sean Payton being hired by the Denver Broncos. Of course, we have Nathaniel Hackett losing his job there in his first year. We had a number of coaches losing their job this year, as we see the Indianapolis coach looking for a new head coach after Jeff Saturday kind of imploded there. And of course, after Frank Reich getting fired, Frank Reich is now hired by the Panthers of Carolina. Of course, you do have DeMeco Ryans hired by the Houston Texans, and of course, we'll see exactly what happens there and who they draft. I foresee C.J. Stroud of the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Ohio State Buckeyes, going number one and possibly going to the Indianapolis Colts in a trade. I think that Chicago Bears, of course, with Justin Fields already have their quarterback, going from one Ohio State quarterback to another, just goes to show you that Ohio State produces the best receivers, even receivers, quarterbacks. They produce it all. They're the factory for the best prospects, I believe. Of course, many will say Alabama, many will say Georgia, but all in all, last year we had a great haul from Georgia with Kobe Dean, of course Walker. You had Davis. You have all these guys. And Davis is going to be in the Super Bowl with Kobe Dean as well now with the Eagles. And you see how racked up and pretty much how loaded they are on the defensive front and even on offense too. Even another guy, Devontae Smith. So just so many guys have come out of great SEC teams as well as Big 10 teams, but I do really believe that the Indianapolis Colts will get the number one pick at some point if the Bears do want to trade up or trade down, of course, and be able to get more assets in general. But CJ Stroud will definitely be taking number one, as he's around 6'5", can throw the ball, can lead. I think he's gonna be a great pro. That's just my assumption. But one piece of information that's come out, especially from the Denver Broncos front, is the fact that Sean Payton already in his first interview already today, already said, he will not have Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson's coach actually tried to get into the facility to work with Russ. He says, nope, that no one's gonna have access to the team facility. He said it's foreign to him. It's something that he's unfamiliar with, having personal coaches in there. You could just see how much Russ got away with last year, having his own personal locker room, having his coach being able to come in and work with him. That's all shut down. After having his worst season yet, we were seeing now that Sean Payton's putting his foot down as the new head coach in, the fold in general in Denver, of course, because it's owned by the Waltons, Walmart owners, right? So they have so much money. So they're, he's going to start his program there. He's been nothing but successful his entire career with Drew Brees, so on and so forth. So we'll see exactly what he can do with Russell Wilson if he's able to revive his career by any stretch of the imagination. I don't foresee it, but crazier things have happened before, so we'll see exactly what happens there. Vikings have hired Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator, which is great. So the Steelers are losing that, linebacker, special teams guy, or linebacker and DB's coach right now. He's going to become a defensive coordinator, get a little more money there, which is great because he deserves it. Everything that's happened with the Dolphins, of course, has now been almost like a faint memory with Brian Flores, but we'll see exactly what happens going forward. But let's talk about the big game. I just want to get that out of the way. All of the other news as well, too. We did see Tom Brady retiring as well. Tom Brady is to many, the greatest competitor of all time, winning 7 Super Bowls, winning early in his career, and of course late in his career. He's just the ultimate competitor, the ultimate gamer in any sport. in general. Of course, as the quarterback position, it's super hard to do that, super difficult to put that all together, but he's managed to put it together, win championships in different, with different franchises, with having great tight ends, a great running game, great defense. He just put it together, and he's just a gamer, right? That Super Bowl they had, in 21, 21-20, with, going up against the Green Bay Packers, winning there. I really thought no one was going to beat the Packers. I thought the Packers had everything laid out, but obviously Aaron Rodgers just can't produce in the clutch for some odd reason. Matt LaFleur made a terrible decision there as well, too. I believe it's 2020. Them winning that, so Tom Brady and the Buccaneers winning that Super Bowl is unprecedented. Like, I think he's just the ultimate competitor. It's going to be hard for him to move away from the game, but I think it was time. I think it was time. He's still produced. Of course, you saw his name being thrown around with being the next quarterback for the Raiders, the next quarterback for the 49ers, seen as the quarterback position in San Francisco is up in the air right now with Trey Lance coming back. Jimmy Garoppolo's most definitely out of there. He might be signing with the Carolina Panthers. We're hearing Brock Purdy, of course, is out for 6 months with the UCL tear. Of course, you saw that game against the Eagles, wasn't able to complete a pass past 10 yards. It's pretty much, hopefully he avoids Tommy John surgery, but he's going to have to go through surgery of some sort because, of course, that ulnar nerve in his elbow, you can't feel anything. And it's as a quarterback, as your arm is being flicking through and putting force through. If you can't feel anything in your elbow, there's really nothing you can do. That's why they had to put him back in there after Johnson got injured from concussion. So really unfortunate. Kyle Shanahan, you really have to feel for him, and having a team that can make it into, and they deserve a Super Bowl at this point. The San Francisco 49ers definitely deserve a Super Bowl at this point, and the fact that he's not been able to put it together ever since losing to Tom Brady, sick of the devil, in the Super Bowl, where he was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, even losing, going up 28-3, just never being able to get that prize. He's going to continue searching, but if you were to go back to that game in general as well, the Devontae Smith catch from Jalen Hurts, he's flushed out of the pocket to his left, throws across his body to Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith didn't catch it. You saw Devontae Smith going like this. That means, of course, you want to snap the ball quickly so that the team doesn't have a chance to challenge the call at all. But, getting that done, and, of course, being able to run the ball, run whatever they wanted against the San Francisco 49ers with Fred Warner, so many Greenlaw, so many guys that are able to stop the run. They really, Nick Bosa, they really took advantage of that defense. And I for one, thought the San Francisco 49ers had the best defense in the entire league, but stopping the run from the Eagles, that offensive line of Lane Johnson, Kelce, they have so many dogs on that line. They're just at a super advantage, the offensive line guys, and Sirianni being able to put it together from a defensive standpoint and an offensive standpoint. Hassan Reddick, you can go down. I'm going to talk about all these guys, but they have everything you need to win the Super Bowl. And who would have thought this at the start of the year? Of course, they did have a pancake schedule from the midpoint of the year all the way down. And I knew as soon as they, when they're undefeated for a long period of time, and then, of course, they lost, I knew that after that loss, they weren't going to lose too many games. Okay. Both teams are 16-3. There's the crazy stat right here that Field Yates actually put out. Everything that they did this year, they really have everything. They had everything. They had a great schedule at the end. I believe that the Chiefs had a harder schedule towards the end of the year, but both teams are 16-3 overall record. Both teams have scored 546 points. Both teams have 6 All-Pros, including the Kelce brother and their QB. And, of course, respectively, the Chiefs are the AFC's number 1 seed. And, of course, respectively, the Philadelphia Eagles are the number 1 seed in the NFC. So, matched up wise, they have great stats. They're well matched. They're very well matched. And, of course, this will be the time where I think the Eagles will get a chance to see the best opponent they'll have in a long time. They really will have the first time in a very, very long time they get to see an opponent that they can really match up with. All right. With my Bengals, as I said before at the start, I said this, I preface this, I put it on, it's on TRUENORTH.BET. This is exactly what I said. I said there was talking way too much trash for a team that's never won. The Chiefs have already won. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Kelce, they've already won. The Bengals have never won. Mike Hilton, Eli Apple, everyone on defense that was talking trash about Burrowhead, the mayor of Cincinnati, saying that Joe Burrow is Patty Mahomes' daddy. Everything you've done, you're eating humble pie right now. And this is exactly what I said. I chose the Bengals to go in there. Many people can say that it's NFL rigged, so on and so forth, but I said it at the start. You talk trash, you're gonna eat some humble pie as soon as this is done. If you lose, and that's exactly what it is. You can't you can have respect for the guys that you're going up against, but don't talk trash leading up to a conference championship game. And you saw exactly what happened. Eli Apple, Mike Hilton, both got exposed. Marcus Van Scanton had a day on those guys, both of those guys, respectively. Eli Apple had some stops, but he still got humbled as well, too. And the Chiefs were without many of the receivers. They're putting a lot of backups in, but Patty Mahomes is just a problem, and he's still going to find his guys regardless of what it is, right? And it was a really evenly matched game. I really thought that the Bengals would pull it off, but, you can't keep these guys down for too long. 5 straight AFC Conference Championships hosted at Arrowhead. Until the Bengals are able to get through them again and win the Super Bowl, that's when you can have some bragging rights. But don't talk, light up your cigar and say Burrowhead, smoking on that Joe. Like, that's exactly why Patty Mahomes said he was smoking that Joe Burrow. That's the reason why. Like, you're talking so much trash. Joe Burrow did not talk trash. He was very classy. He's a great competitor. But it's going to be really tough for the Bengals to go back to the Super Bowl. Seeing that Joe's going to get paid, and many of these guys are not, like, the team's not going to be as good as this year. Unfortunately, you have to understand that there's not going to be as good defensively as they are this year, because they have to be able to pay their star quarterback. Hopefully, Burrow does take less money. We'll see exactly what happens there. We don't want him to take less money because he deserves all the money that he's owed. He's been a competitor. Him, offense, they got to stay together. Not worried about the offense at all. Of course, Joe Mixon now having that all of his charges dropped positive, but still, it's one of those things where the NFL is still going to investigate. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's going to be a very long offseason for those Bengals of Cincinnati. Deserve to be in this game, but when able to put it together and, talk a lot of trash, and you have to eat humble pie, you got to eat it at the end of the day. And it's going to be quite a long process for them to get back to this point this year, right? With the Bills looking to get back and many other teams looking to get back in general. But in this game, what we have the Eagles. It's all set up. Eagles and Chiefs set up to play in Arizona. It's going to be a great game in warm Arizona as well, too. It's already been predicted that many people are going with the Eagles. I'm riding with the Eagles. They're favored by 1.5 points, but it's still a pick-me game. It's still a pick-me. I'm taking the Eagles simply because Hassan Reddick, Gardner Johnson, Darius Slay, Jordan Davis, all of these guys are problems. Okay, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, all these this defense is a problem. This defense is incredible, and of course, it's going to be a very tough game in general. I would say the same for the Kansas City Chiefs with Chris Jones, Frank Clark, L'Jarius Sneed. Hopefully, he gets back. A lot of their guys on defense playing key vital roles for him a long period of time and playing well. It's gonna be a very, very tough game on both sides of the ball. But I believe that the offensive line of the Eagles are the X factor. I mean, they're the ones that have been pretty much the anchor for the Philadelphia Eagles the entire season, as you've gotten Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, and of course Miles Sanders the ball, being able to run in between the tackles, being able to run outside as well too, off tackle, wherever they do, RPO game, whatever they do, they've been able to do it very effectively against the best defenses in the league. All right, you saw it against the 49ers. You saw at a certain point that the 49ers were a little bit out of it, a little bit dejected because, of course, their quarterback couldn't throw the ball. So it's almost as though it's an impossible feat to win a game when your quarterback is out, especially in the NFL when you need it's such a quarterback-centric league. But the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles are the X factor. It's not even Jalen Hurts. It's not Devontae Smith. It's not, it's not A.J. Brown at all. It's not Dallas Goedert. It's the offensive line. Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, those boys are dogs. They open up huge holes for their running backs. They exploit the defense. And as soon as you have the run exploited, and as soon as you have the run going, you can go to anything in your playbook. That's why you have to establish the run first as a football team and then get to everything else. Okay. You can't simply have Jalen Hurts back there getting the ball and throwing to these guys, because you're not going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs simply throwing the ball. You can't. You have to beat them on the ground. That's one thing that the Cincinnati Bengals were not able to do. They had to go and force the ball through the air because they couldn't run. They had like 28 yards rushing. So that's one thing you got to make sure you establish first. You got to exploit those guys. And I think they will. I think they have a really upper hand in the offensive line. I think they're going to do a great job opening up the entire defense, open up the defensive line, and running the ball rush shot. And that's the reason why I'm rolling with the Birds. First Super Bowl, hopefully. Well, we'll see exactly how my picks are, but first Super Bowl, hopefully, since Nick Foles won the MVP, I say that Jalen Hurts, or I would give it to the offensive line if they do win the MVP, but I'll say that the quarterback or one of the running backs will win the MVP if the Eagles do win. But speaking of, I'm not going to totally, outcast the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that if Patrick Mahomes has a great game and they're able to get the ball to Travis Kelce, I think what Travis Kelce has done against the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals is unprecedented. It's been incredible, but I really think that he's going to get strapped. Like, it's exactly what happened where the Buccaneers took away Travis Kelce and the deep threat of Tyreek Hill back in the Super Bowl there. They weren't able to do anything. Patrick Mahomes had to do everything by himself. No one can help him because they were strapped. His two main targets were strapped. Of course, now you do have Marcus Valdes-Scantling. You have Juju Smith-Schuster. You have McCole Hardman back, of course, too. You have Sky Moore. You have a number of guys that are able to get the ball and exploit the defense. But I really think that he's going to cue on Kelce. And if Kelce can't get the ball and get going, those other guys are not going to be able to create separation by himself. Other than MVS, only guy, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, the only other guy that's able to create separation to get around, but they'll bracket him, right? What Philadelphia does really well is that they have the two safeties able to kind of roll around with the really quick receivers, and they've taken everyone out. They've taken everyone out thus far. No one's really gone off against the Eagles as a receiver yet. For over 200 yards, for instance, that's when I say going off. Of course, 200 yards is incredibly difficult to attain, but I really think that's going to be the X factor. That's going to be exactly what it's going to come down to. It'll be a defensive game, but Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, Jalen Hurts, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, Miles Sanders. It will be a committee of guys being able to run the ball down the throat of Kansas City. And I don't think they'll be able to stop it because as soon as that's open, you get the ball to Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, and see what happens. This will all be contingent on the offensive line and running backs. And if Jalen Hurts it's not too big of a moment for him because he's done it all. He's been there in Alabama. He's been prepared for this for a long time, sitting out, playing, going to Oklahoma. His journey is unreal. And if he's able to get this Super Bowl over Patrick Mahomes, who is most likely going to be the MVP of the league, I think he deserves a lot of credit. And Philadelphia Eagles fans have been looking for this for a long period of time. There's a lot of crazed Philadelphia Eagles fans have been waiting for this moment again. They've had a good franchise, right? They're right back there after struggling for a few years, losing to Tom Brady last year in the playoffs. Now coming back over here, Jalen Hurts has gotten way better. Last year, Jalen Hurts used to get the ball, snap to him, roll to the right, and then throw the ball. And it usually will be incomplete. This year, he's staying in the pocket. He has more time. He's throwing the ball up. I don't know how he's gotten this much better in 1 year, but he's definitely worked on it. He's gotten the reps. He's gotten more comfortable. He's bet more targets as well. Not targets. He has more weapons as well too, but he's able to sit back there, get the ball to his guys. He didn't play too well against the San Francisco 49ers, but I think in this game, he has to ease into it first, and I think he's able to put it together, get the ball to those playmakers, have the run game kind of take over initially, then get the ball to the other guys. Plus, he's going to be in a warmer climate, so I don't foresee that he's going to be throwing the ball in the dirt or kind of low anymore, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go with the Birds. You let me know exactly what you feel is going to happen for this game. I think I'm going to be right for sure because, to be honest with you, that offensive line of the Eagles is a problem, and I think they're going to be a problem for a very long time. They can keep this team together. They want to do everything before Jalen gets paid, right? Once again, teams need to be able to find a way to win a Super Bowl before their quarterback gets paid, their franchise quarterback gets paid. That's the reason why 49ers were almost there, right? Of course, Patrick Mahomes is the outlier. He's able to get there by himself or with some other key players for going through the luxury tax, but you have to be able to win the Super Bowl before the quarterback becomes highly paid. And the Eagles are doing it right now. The Kansas City Chiefs have been able to get there because their quarterback is just unbelievable. He's the best player in the NFL by far. Not by far, but by a wide margin, I believe, right now. And I can't wait for this game. But that's my prediction. Birds all the way. Let's see exactly if I'm correct. Let's see if you disagree with me. It really is up to you. I don't think I'm going to be wrong, but I think this game is going to be controlled at the line of scrimmage. And I think the line of scrimmage, the Eagles are better on defensive and offensive end. And I think their special teams is better as well, too. Just more balance. Just a really balanced job. I think Sirianni's done a really good job putting together. And think about that, too. Sirianni, from his first press conference, we thought this man was toast. And he doesn't get enough credit because everyone still thinks he's a bozo. Everyone still thinks he's a, kind of a, in lack of a better term, a waste man. But he's been able to put it together. He's been able to make sure that everyone is happy. He's been able to make sure the guys are on, have their minds correct. I think that they have really good leaders on that team. You don't really need too much, but he's done a really good job putting these guys together in positions to be successful. And I think the defensively, they've done a really good job as well, too. But that is the reason why I'm going with the Birds. Who are you riding with? This is the TRUENORTH.BET Football NFL NCAA Football Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Graham. I'm so happy to be here. I'll be here after to recap everything. And, of course, we'll get into some draft news fairly soon. But I got the Birds. Who are you riding with? Enjoy the Super Bowl. And, of course, you'll see me on TikTok and other places as well, too. All right? TRUENORTH.BET Podcast. Make sure I'm signing off right now. Keep balling.